Welcome back to Tough Men of Faith. I'm here, Nick Robertson, with Daniel Earle. RT couldn't make it today. I don't know, they ran out of his favorite makeup color or something. He's out. Anyway, welcome back, Daniel. It's good to have you.
I'm just making
I know what
producer
you're
Blake
doing.
think that we don't have audio.
You're going to drive Blake nuts. Before we go too much further.
No, I'm sorry. Do we need to redo that? Or we're just
No,
going
we
to
don't.
we're
gonna
going.
roll with that.
We're
I
live.
do want to thank Workforce Chaplains, though.
Yes,
for being
absolutely.
our sponsor this season or for the last, I don't know, however many episodes. They've been awesome.
Yeah.
So if you ever need chaplain service at your business or, you reach out to Workforce Chaplains.
Fixing the needs in the community for business owners, small business owners,
Look at
mid-sized,
you.
large business
It's
owners.
like you have the paperwork over there and you're reading off of it.
Look, I'm really proud of those guys.
Yeah, me too.
When I first tuned into this season and found out they were a sponsor, I thought, wow, what a great pairing.
Right.
And just, stepping up, being the hands and feet of Christ. That's
If only we could get Dirt Wrangler to do that.
Oh.
We could do some things with these cameras.
Well, we may be able to help out with that.
We'll have to reach out.
We might be able to help out with that. So that's a lot of dirt wrangling.
So we talked last time a little bit about your missions work that you're
Yes.
doing in Ghana.
Yeah.
And you care to elaborate on that, or is anything new with
Yeah.
that?
Well, we have had some new developments with Ghana. We recently we have a team there locally that really helps us. We couldn't do it without them.
Okay.
One of the
They kinda
guys,
stay there and do logistics stuff.
they live there.
Oh,
Yeah,
great.
they were connections that we made before we ever visited.
Okay.
And one of the guys, he's actually a Nigerian, relocated into Ghana.
He's not a
His
prince,
name-
is he? Have I talked to him on the phone?
You may have had some of his emails come
Yeah.
through. But
Great.
no, Jude he's just a fantastic guy, and he handles all of our logistics, makes sure that the resources get where they need to be,
Cool.
and identifying new need sets.
Okay.
And then he partnered with a local missionary, which is an incredible story. I'll make it really brief,
Yeah.
but we actually had one of the chiefs in the villages. We had prayed for him, and God had restored his health.
Okay.
And he asked us to build him a church in his village.
I think
And
we talked about this last time,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
So we were like, can do,
Yeah.
right? So we built the church, and then we were praying. God, it's great we have a church, but if you could send us a pastor.
Yeah.
And so, unbeknownst to us, there was a guy who had appointed himself as a missionary going around to these villages, and he had been praying for a church to be built in the village that we built the church in.
Perfect.
Exactly.
Isn't it funny how God's plan just puts everything together?
Yeah. Yeah,
know-
and that's just one of those little God wink things,
Yeah.
right? And so that Pastor Daniel in Africa, he has been putting together a missions training program. So he's started to develop and work these churches in about 5 different villages now, and he travels around to all of these, and he's starting to train young pastors and young ministers. Because I told him, I said, we're not going to stop building churches, we're not going to stop doing the ministry, so you better start training some pastors.
Yeah.
And he was like, Roger that.
Nice. That's awesome.
And so they're continuing that work, and we are hoping to go there. They're going to have 4 sessions of pastoral training, one each quarter of the year.
Okay.
And we're hoping to return for that 4th session
Okay.
and meet with our new group of pastors and identify how everybody's going to go out and do ministry.
That's awesome.
So we're really excited about that, hopefully in the first part of 2024. And hopefully next year in February, going to Sierra Leone,
Okay.
Africa, which is, so like here's Ghana, here's another country. Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm
we don't know what that
American.
one
I
is.
don't know what that one is.
Doesn't matter.
It's Sierra Leone, right? So, yeah.
We're just passing
right?
through.
I'm so American. But, so anyhow,
Sierra Leone, that's pretty war torn, right?
It is,
Didn't you
yeah,
say we're
they,
civil war for the last umpteen years.
yeah, and there's some. I don't want to speak to their at-home politics.
Yeah.
There is peace-ish
Okay.
there right now, but obviously a lot of power grab
Yeah.
going on, which can be challenging.
Yeah.
But my friend here in Indiana, he owns Indiana Prosthetic Solutions, and he's the founder and president of New Life with Limbs.
Okay.
And that is a ministry that he started where he collects prosthetic devices.
People's hooks.
He does. We're
He goes
trying
to
to be.
funerals and steals the legs back.
Look, we are gonna. It's not far from that, Nick.
See? Hey, you don't need to be buried with that leg. Let me have that back and give it to somebody else.
I promise you, RT's not going to miss another podcast.
Right? He will
guys,
never do this again.
These guys going to need to be supervised. But no, actually, they do. They
Really?
get a lot of people
Okay.
because prosthetics are oftentimes made in stages of life. Last 5-10 years of someone's life, and so then they pass away. And
Hey, you know that hip we gave you? We're gonna need that back.
that's pretty much it.
Good night. I was just kidding.
Well, he'll take in these donations, and
Okay.
there's other resources, but honestly, Nick, that's a lot of them. Yeah, he gets a lot of them.
Man, that's what I get for making a bad joke.
Right? Well, it's a war-torn region, but it's also one of those countries where, one of the forms of discipline there for many years was, we'll just cut your hand off.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of
Yeah,
people
it'd
over
be nice
there.
to get a new one.
Yeah. And these are places where a person
a gently used hand.
right. Go ahead and say it.
I'm not
Second
gonna say
hand.
It. Yeah, second hand. I tried to avoid it. You wouldn't let me do it.
I know it's the low-hanging fruit.
I know, man.
We're, I got a second-hand hand.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, James, if you're watching.
Yeah.
I do apologize. His
You
ministry's
imagine,
very
you imagine getting in
serious.
trouble and having to lose one of the fingers on your new hand.
Right.
Like, it's rubber. You can have it. Here, just keep the whole thing.
Oh, man.
All right,
Which
stop.
reminds me of a story about two raccoons.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's we're going to do this. So it's a Kentucky raccoon and a Indiana raccoon were hanging out by the river, and the Kentucky raccoon got caught in a trap.
Okay.
And the Hoosier raccoon's trying to help him get out. He says, man, I don't know. He said, I think you're just going to have to gnaw one of your paws off and go on about your life. He said, man, I can't do that. And so the Indiana raccoon comes back about 3 days later, and the Kentucky raccoon is still in the trap. And he said, man, you're going to die. He said, you've got to gnaw one of your paws off and move on. And he said, buddy, I've tried that 3 times, and I still can't get out of this trap. Anyhow.
You're not off the wrong ones.
There it
Here we
is.
go.
If you have to explain it, is it really a joke? But but anyhow, going back to this. So
Yeah.
in Sierra Leone, so we'll be traveling there, and so James Goff, the founder of New Life with Limbs, he says, hey, look, I just make legs,
Right.
but he does so much more than that. I mean, you want to talk about being the hands and feet of Christ.
Oh, man.
Oh,
Here we
producer
go.
Blake has a lot of editing to do this
Yeah.
week.
He doesn't edit anymore.
Oh, he does.
Everything
Okay.
we say it's in.
Woo.
You got to watch the jokes and, oh, yeah.
But it's a very serious thing. But while we have him there, I mean, people have to come for fittings. There was one time he was there, and a person had carried another person to meet him for days.
Oh, wow.
Literally carried this person.
Yeah.
And they would carry him as far as they could, stop and rest, and carry him again. And I remember James knows the story, but it was a period of days that they had to travel, hoping
Hoping to meet James,
hoping to meet him.
to get a limb.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah. And
You imagine after he gets his leg and be like, all right, you're carrying me back.
Hey, I think that's fair.
It's only fair.
But one time they were with a guy, and he was missing an arm, and I mean, if you could just imagine being in an area of poverty where you couldn't get one if you wanted one, if you could afford it.
Oh, yeah.
It just wouldn't be possible. And they gave him his arm, and at the same time they gave him a copy of the Bible,
Cool.
and he held both of them up, and he said, "This one, the Bible, is more valuable than this one."
Yeah.
And man, what a perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, if that doesn't just grip our hearts and minds, and I know I say this all the time, guys. I mean, I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record, but I think we take it for granted that the Bible is within hand's reach.
Right.
But a lot of the places that we're going in Africa, I mean, they couldn't get Bibles if they were available. They couldn't afford them, and they're not available. They can't get to them.
Yep.
And one of the things that we do with Joyful Manna Ministries in Ghana, we have made a commitment that we are going to distribute Bibles in the native language as long as we possibly can.
Yeah.
They cost about $5 a piece U.S. By the time we actually get them there and can distribute them, And you can visit Joyful Manna Ministries if you want to contribute to our
Awesome.
Bible project. And 100% of that money that's collected for the Bible project goes to Bibles. It doesn't do anything else.
Great.
The rest of the ministry doesn't take a cut of that or anything. It
Yeah.
all goes to making sure the Word of God is put in the hands or hand. Tack on it, Nick.
Yep.
Oh,
You set me up.
anyhow,
Yeah.
we get it done.
Right. Good luck flipping the pages.
All right. Honey, can you? Anyhow, yeah. So
Okay,
that's
awesome.
that.
So
yeah,
big-
that's
big
the
thanks.
that's the update. So branching out,
So you're going next year?
hoping to 2024. February is our ish date.
Okay.
Sometimes those dates change.
Oh yeah, for sure. Everything
right?
changes.
But we're looking at that.
Yeah.
And returning to both those countries to see the work and mission of God continue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you get a haircut recently?
I did. I got a bunch of them cut. I did. Almost all of them.
Yeah, almost all of them. Nice. So what's up with that? New wife make you do that?
No. Actually, but she does prefer this look.
Okay.
But
You
she,
look younger.
do
Like
I?
a little more dapper.
Well, I'm a Dapper Dan man.
You are a Dapper Dan
I
man.
am, Yes, sir. Moving on.
Yeah.
So this is what I tell people because they all ask, why'd you get a haircut?
Yeah.
And I say, well, I went.
Because
To
you
the-
had some luscious locks before.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
It makes guys like me jealous.
it makes women jealous. Women hated me.
Yeah?
They did. They like, oh, your hair.
Yeah, it's probably
And
because of
then
your hair.
Followed up immediately by, I hate you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thanks.
Okay. Yeah.
Whatever. But no, I went to the barber shop. They were having a 2-for-1 special, and I was
Right.
by myself.
Yeah.
But I'm not one to pass up a deal, so
Yeah.
I was like, give me both of them. And that's not the way that happened, but that's the story I tell.
Okay, yeah, that works. Oh man. All right, moving on.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about something to talk about today with you would be
Yeah.
kind of how guys get things out of order.
Yep.
I've been guilty of it
Yep.
multiple times in the past. And I always say, you need to have God at the top,
Yes, sir.
and then your wife, and then your kids, and then your job. And I watch guys get that out of order all the time.
Yep.
And then you watch everything that they push to the bottom of the list really start to affect their life in a negative way.
Yep.
And I try and explain this to friends and family and people all the time is you have to have that order and you have to have it in the right order.
Yeah.
And I find that, guys, we have a hard time keeping things in the right order.
Sure.
It's easy to start off with a good plan and try and move in that direction, but man, it sure is hard to keep it going.
Right.
And
Yeah, it's like spinning plates while you're juggling.
yeah.
It takes some
Yeah.
talent. It
Oh,
takes
yeah.
some skill.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of prayer, and
It does.
It's ultimately it's God's plan,
Yeah.
and then when you deviate from that, is usually when the issues start.
Yep.
And I don't know. I was thinking about it and wanted to talk through it a little bit with you, and
Yeah.
I see guys get the order screwed up all the time, and they start putting kids first, and extracurriculars and sports first, and then jobs, and then their wives are down at the bottom of the list, and then they everything starts to suffer. And,
Sure.
it just
Well, another piece of low-hanging fruit
what do you
is to
got?
return to the garden.
Yeah.
And that whole thing of Adam and the headship of men.
Yeah.
That's one of those things that unfortunately hasn't changed.
Right.
And I don't even say that unfortunately. I'm sorry. I redact that.
Yeah.
I think that
Blake, we need you to edit that.
we can read scripture and see that God has given men headship.
Yep.
And I say that, and take some of this with a grain of salt, okay? But I say that he's given woman heartship
Yeah.
and given man headship. And those two things should be in agreement.
Yeah, they should mesh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The book of James, talks about a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways.
Right.
And I think that's really where we have to start.
Yeah.
And we have to learn to lead peaceably in our families.
You want to say it again just for the people in the back?
Yes, lead peaceably
Yeah.
in our families. This being a business owner. I mean, you can come in and rant and rave and bash heads and
Right.
all, and you're going to build a lot of resentment.
Yep. It does nothing but tear people down.
Right. And you can destroy your productivity, but you come in, you say, "Hey guys, look, this is our objective.
Yeah.
And we are the right
This
team."
is our objective.
Yes.
We are a team.
Yeah, and it's us. And not only that, we're the right team.
Right.
We are the right team for this job, for this day, and we're going to go in and we're going to knock it out.
Yep.
And you get these guys, I mean, you get a guys rallied and woohooed,
Right.
and you've seen projects just you walk through.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And everybody leave feel like a champion.
Yep. Was it Colossians 3? I can't remember offhand, but do everything as you're doing it for the Lord.
Yeah.
And I go in with that mindset every day. That I'm not working for my boss, I'm not working for my employees, I'm not working for my wife, I'm not doing this for my wife or kids or whatever. Everything I do for God. And if I keep that mindset and want to do everything as perfect as I can, as if I'm doing it directly for God, I find that my day goes so much better, and the task that I'm tasked with goes so much better.
Absolutely.
I write it down. I wrote it on my schedule. I started a new job 6-8 weeks ago, and I write it down on my schedule every week. And every time I look at it when I get in my truck in the morning, it's, I go right back to it. You're not working for your boss. You're not working for your wife. You're working for God.
Right.
And just roll with it, and trust in God's plan, because he's got one.
Well, just before we hit the record button,
Yeah.
it was, you can't improve on God's plan
You
for
can't
your
improve
life.
on God's plan.
It's trust me, it's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, and whether you think you have an idea or a plan or what you're going to do, there's already a plan in place, but you need to follow it.
Yeah.
And you need to receive it, and with open arms, you need to receive it.
So I'd like to share something from my personal life that really has changed my Christian walk
Okay.
for the better. And it's displayed in a different way, but there are some friends of mine and I, we do a lot of mentoring, counseling, meeting with guys one-on-one.
Okay.
And I think that's really important.
For sure.
A lot of guys have walls up and
Yeah.
all these other issues. I'm not even going to go into that. We know it exists. Guys, look, we know it.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't care if you want to admit to it or
Right.
not. It's
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah, we all have a little bit of skeletons, and we have things that we think about and talk about, and you're right. We have walls up.
but meeting with that one-on-one person
Yep.
that you can truly connect with, that you can feel safe and secure with, and know this guy's on my team.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you
I
gotta get your
heard you in
battle
RT talking about iron sharpening iron.
Yeah.
There's nothing about that process that's comfortable.
Oh yeah.
It's friction and sparks the whole way.
You're exactly right, and it gets uncomfortable. But man, it sure is good that you can actually open up with somebody that's also a guy that also understands what you're going through
Right.
and dealing with, and sees the ways of the world and sees the things of the world that, ultimately temptations that you need to fight, and they're fighting them too.
Right.
Whether they want to talk about it or not, they've battled some of that too.
Yeah. And listening goes a long way. I mean, there's a lot of guys who are facing issues in their life that they just don't feel like they can even talk about.
Right.
And sometimes just a guy being able to talk and to hear his own,
Yeah.
I've had guys stop and be like, well, this sounds crazy, doesn't it? And I'm
No,
like,
it doesn't sound crazy. I actually know exactly what you're talking about. I've thought the same things and done some of the same things, and
Yeah.
we battle it. We all battle it every day, and
yeah.
yeah.
So one of the things that we talk about is the 3 7s, 777. And that is
Slots.
huh?
Slots.
It's, hey, look, you want to hit a jackpot? Do the 3 7s. 7 minutes a day, 7 days a week for 7 weeks. Say, what's the 7 minutes? The 7 minutes is what we call abiding. Sit and shut up and listen
Right.
to what the Lord has to say.
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about, and I'm not saying stop scripture reading, continue that.
Right.
I'm not saying stop praying, continue that. But if you can imagine taking 7 minutes completely unplugged, there's no phone, no radio, no food, 0 distractions, and just sit there and say, Lord, what do you want to say to me?
Yeah.
And then silence and set
Yeah.
your timer and see how long, or sometimes how short that 7 minutes is.
Right.
But if you do that 7 minutes a day, 7 days a week for 7 weeks, things change.
They should.
They will.
Yeah.
I have never talked to a guy who has practiced that didn't say that was one of the most powerful and impactful things. That I can't believe how much communion,
Right.
and that word communion is 2 words, common union.
Yeah.
Right? How much common union began to become between me and God when I just sat down, turned off all the distractions, and we clearly focused on Him and just say, Lord, you give it to me.
Yeah.
And that practice, a lot of times when you're just beginning that practice, sometimes nothing changes. and you're like, okay, I'm not getting it.
Right.
You go 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
There was even one guy who said, man, he said, I did that. I was like faithful to it for 7 weeks. He said, and I don't know, maybe I'm just not connecting with it. But here's the thing, just because we don't feel it doesn't mean God's not working.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yep. I agree.
And so I would challenge guys to do that, because we have to get back in alignment, because we can talk about the headship of the man,
Right.
but in that same passage that says that the man is the head, it also says that Christ
Is the head of the man.
absolutely.
Yep.
And we can bluster on and on and on all we want to, but until we get the fact that, okay, I'm going to deal with some tough passages,
Yeah.
right?
Go ahead.
The submission passage for women.
Yeah.
And that's always preached towards women.
Right.
Guys,
How many guys haven't brought that up in their marriage?
guys, let me tell you something. We have the same directive.
Yep.
We have the exact same directive that we have to be submissive to Christ.
Right.
And we don't get that. So I got a guy I'm working with. I just want to tell you this real quickly.
Yeah.
We do Proverbs, 1 chapter a day. You know that
Oh,
like
yeah.
Proverbs has
Yep.
31 chapters. Whatever day of the month it is, you read Proverbs, right? And so the one that he and I text back and forth every day about Proverbs, and the one that I sent to him today came from, of all places,
Proverbs 24.
yeah, Proverbs 24:27. Put your outdoor work in order and get your fields ready. After that, build your house.
Yeah.
Proverbs advising on what? Priorities.
Priorities.
Get your job done first.
Yep.
Work first, then play. And the reason why is because, I mean, my goodness, in those days, if you didn't take care of the outdoor work, your
Right.
family's going to starve.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Next year's gonna be really tough for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know, we have to reconnect, and we have to realize that before, and guys, this is guys to guys, and any women watching, just get your amens primed, because you're going to want them, okay? But here's the thing. Before you criticize your wife, your children, or anyone else in the community that they're not being submissive or letting me lead, let's check.
Yeah. Let's look in the mirror first.
Let's check and see if we are the ones who are not in submission to the headship of Christ before we go pointing
Yep.
fingers at everybody else
Throw
in the
rocks at
community.
glass houses.
Man,
Yep.
that's big.
Absolutely.
But I'd say, yeah, it's all
Yep.
there. It's all
Yeah.
in the book.
Yeah. Make sure your order's right. Make sure God's at the top.
Yeah.
And guys, take control of your household. I mean, you know, make sure that the order's right and take control of the household.
Take control by being submitted.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Be submissive and take control, and make sure that you're the leader. Kids don't run the house. You know, wives shouldn't run the house. It can be done jointly. It can be done together, but ultimately, it's our responsibility.
And here's the other thing I'm going to say, just because, guys, look, I mean, I'm just going to talk straight to you, and if you hate me, whatever. I don't
Yeah.
care. But here's the thing.
Then tune out next week.
Right? Probably won't even be here, so you're fine.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Scriptural truth is scriptural truth. And whether you believe you're leading or not, you are.
Yep.
And so a lot
People
of
are
times
always looking up to you, whether you realize it or not.
there are those little things that you think nobody sees or inconsequential.
Yep.
Those could be the very things, because you cannot change what God has put in order.
Right.
And so you can say, you know, well, all
Yeah,
these
sometimes
things
the
are,
smallest things can be the one thing that changes people's minds on whether they want to believe or not,
yeah,
or will believe or not. Just by something they see you do that's off color, they might just be like, "Well, how can he call himself a Christian man?
Things
He
they don't
does
see
this
you
or
do."
does that."
our guilty conscience will suppress
Yep.
our right action.
Right.
It happens all the time. So we just got to be tight there. We
Yep.
do. It's our responsibility.
It's our responsibility.
Because we are leading, whether you think you are or not. It's on you.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
that's all I got to say about that. Actually, it's not. That's all I'm going to say
All
about
right.
that.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to wrap it up.
Sure.
I really appreciate you coming on. I appreciate the 3 sevens.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm going to use that. And,
Take it, run with it. You hit a jackpot with those
Yeah,
3
we
sevens,
hit a
man.
jackpot. See, I made a slot joke, and here we are. So yeah, that's awesome. I want to thank Workforce Chaplains again for being
Yep.
our sponsor. Next, we're going to be saying that we want to thank Dirt Wrangler, but we'll get there.
You can thank Dirt Wrangler anytime you
Yeah,
want to.
right.
And Nick Robertson's Drywall. What is the name of your company anyway?
It's Robertson Drywall.
Robertson Drywall.
And I'm currently working for a home builder.
Oh,
I
yeah.
started that about 6 or 8 weeks ago.
All right.
It's a new challenge for me. So
Yeah, have they paid you yet?
Yeah,
No,
they have
no, wait a
paid me.
minute. No,
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm not even going to go
They
there.
paid me. They're great.
Okay. All right, good.
Yeah, phenomenal guy that I'm working for, and that's he actually listens to the podcast too, so that's kind of fun.
All right.
Because he'll razz me about it come
Well, you
Friday.
got to say his name.
Yeah, Paul von der Sar.
Yeah.
Yep, not Amish, but he sounds like he is. So yeah. Anyway, no, it's a great company, and I thoroughly enjoy what I'm doing a lot more than I have in the past couple years. So
Good
yeah, it's
deal.
awesome.
Good
Yeah.
people should be with good people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yep, thanks again. And
Yeah.
we thank Workforce Chaplains for being our sponsor. And we hope that whatever RT's dealing with, maybe it's a makeup issue, we're not sure, but wherever he's at.
I think he said they didn't have his shade.
Yeah, I
and
think
then he
they
couldn't
had the
deal-
wrong shade, and he
Yeah.
had to drive across town to get the right
Yeah,
color
sure.
for his complexion or something. I'm not really sure. But,
Yeah, you know, it's tough being RT.
man, it's just those televangelists, those pastors on TV. You know, if they don't look right, they can't perform. So, anyway, we'll get him back next time. I'm sure after he sees this, he won't let us do one without him again.
Right.
So, anyway, we'll see y'all next time. Oh, check it out on YouTube and Facebook, and I don't know if there's an Instagram yet. Hopefully not. I think that's for more pictures. Check it out on X as well, and we'll be there.
That'll work.
Thanks again.